Okay, so we kind of talked a little bit about microphone selection,
We've
and then we
covered a
talked
lot
about
of ground.
DAWs. We did. We've gone all the way down,
Yeah.
the AI
Uh-huh.
rabbit hole, which finally gets us to another thing is what we specialize in, which is the acoustics part of it and
space.
room treatment of the actual space.
Yes.
So like I was saying, you can
It's
have
still important, guys.
it's still important.
It's still important.
And and even you're seeing AI and stuff come into
Yeah.
that a little bit more,
Yeah.
where we can treat spaces.
Processing.
We've seen noise cancellation, we've seen processing, things
Yeah.
that can be done afterwards. So a piece of that equation, you've got the right microphone picked out. You've got you're talented, you're ready to go for your market, and then you've got your computer program picked out that you're able to do, and then now picking a space. I have talked to a lot of people who have started in the closet and stuff too. It's just like you would start with a USB mic and be able to record something in a blanket for it, and it does wonderful. Or something like the VO1s that we produce, which again, you pop it up, you've got a good sounding space to get going. What we were kind of talking about, and you had this great term, which was quiet on demand. And we've also talked about how trying to get those jobs and get those work and working with more and more people remotely, how important that quiet on demand is. So that would be like you are working with a producer, you're working with a director, and now you've got the leaf blower outside. You've got traffic going by. You've got traffic.
The kids
You've got
just
the kids.
came home from school.
They just came home. Don't slam the door, I'm working. Yeah, and now what? So quiet on demand is something that a booth can produce for you.
Can help provide that. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's quiet on demand is the little phrase I've coined to just describe the point where you cross over from doing things self-directed. You're mostly auditioning. You're working on your own hours. You can stop and start as you please. To now you're on with the director and the client and all that. And there is no flexibility in terms of your timing.
Right.
You're on their time.
You're on their time.
That's
They're
right.
paying
their
you
time
to
can
be
very
on their
expensive.
time.
That session, that hour-long session, could be costing somebody $10,000. Right. So that's where the quiet on demand becomes critical, and that's when you step up from being in your closet or having even a VO1, and you go to a proper isolation booth that can reduce the noise for your needs. And that amount of noise you need to reduce is unique. And that's why you guys, like many others, you guys have multiple solutions. It's just not a one size fits all.
Right.
You don't need to sell somebody the top of the line if they're in a rural setting and they live alone.
Absolutely.
They don't need
that's always going to be part of our sales process, is like, you tell me where you are first. So like, well, what do I need? You tell me what you're doing.
Are you in an apartment building in downtown New York or LA? Are you on the third floor or second floor of a 3-story building? What are you up against?
Right.
That's
like when we
what
say
needs
our
to be-
platinum series, platinum doesn't mean that it's built better. It just means this is better at isolating sound. So we have like a platinum plus.
It's a tier. Yeah.
It's a tier.
Yeah.
It's a tier thing. Exactly. So all of our
More
booths are going to
interesting
have.
than level 1, 2,
It really
3,
is.
and 4.
I mean, there's a lot of precious metals and gems and stuff floating around in our names. We have to kind of decode that for people, first of all, but it works out. So basically, like, the insides of these booths are all pretty much the same. It's just what's going to be on the outside is like getting that mass and getting different treatments to block out different frequencies and stuff as well. Now, choosing a space too. Everybody, I won't say everybody. That's too broad. But a lot of people will look at something like a booth and just say, "I bet that's boxy," or "That's going to be boxy." Boxy is another a word like we like to throw around. Oh, that's
of course.
It's warmer presence, whatever. It's boxy. From the audio perspective, can you kind of tell me what you think like boxy really means, or what it is?
Yeah. So boxy means that attention hasn't been paid to the acoustical treatment of the inside of the space. So I look at acoustics for sound as you would look at as lighting for video. You're not going to get an appealing video production or photo if lighting isn't thought about.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to buy lights, but you have to make sure if there is light in that room, which direction is it coming from? If there's a window, you don't put it behind the subject. It looks terrible. It's backlit. So lighting is super important for an image, and acoustics is super important for audio, right? So when the problem with any kind of a chamber, a box, closet, anything on the smaller side, you now create this new problem. You've now increased the soundproofing, but you've increased the issue with acoustics, because now the sound wants to bounce back and forth across the room in 3 directions, cross one way or the other, and up and down. And based on the size of that space, those are what we call resonances. It's based on something called room modes, and there's all kinds of calculators online that will tell you all this information. But basically, the room will have a resonance at different frequencies based on its size. That's the short version. So there are numerous ways to deal with it, and the problem is that the science behind acoustics ignores these small spaces.
Right.
I've read quite a few books, at least to the level that I can comprehend them, because they're
Right.
about 90% mathematics.
Yep.
And I've spoken to acousticians who have the degrees. I have done the research online. I've watched a ton of videos, and on and on and on. Up until the last 5 years, there's been very little knowledge about this area, and it's been mostly just experimenting and just luck. So there are products now that we're making use of, and we've come up with some things for vocal booths that, when used correctly and in the right place and in the right way, can dramatically improve that space, so that not only do you get a good sound, but you get a good sound at a different distances from the mic. What we often do is to just get an acceptable sounding recording in a less than an ideal space is just get a lot closer to the mic. So my common one is a fist to thumb away from your condenser mic.
Right.
That doesn't work for these guys. You
These
got
ones
to
are
be
a
up
little bit
close.
Right.
So that's usually where we start. But once the booth is tuned well, and we've done some great tests the last few days where we've proven this, now you can get further from the mic.
Right.
When you get further from the mic, it's more comfortable. You can physically move around more without the sound changing in an audible way. Also, when you're further from the mic doesn't hear as many mechanical noises. Well, what are those? Mouth noise.
Right.
Mouth noise is a mechanical noise.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter how loud you're speaking or quiet. That sound is exactly the same volume. It's just your mechanical noises coming out of your face. So the closer the mic, the louder the noises.
Right.
Farther from the mic, the quieter the
Okay,
noises.
yeah.
So there's a lot of advantages of being able to be farther from your mic, but you can't do that unless the acoustics are really well done, right? So
Right.
we've taken the vocal booth product, which has good acoustics in it that sound good when the mic is in a very close proximity and you're very careful about your placement. And now, because we've tuned them so well with these new additional booth tuning products, now you have a lot more flexibility in your placement. You can get farther away. And we've literally demoed that just through a bunch of tests over the last few days. And we've
Yeah, it was
shown
very,
that
very
to
cool.
be true.